For over 2,000 years, the most terrifying armies on Earth did the exact same thing. They rode onto the plains of China with fire and steel, absolutely certain they could erase this civilization forever. The Mongol hordes of Genghis Khan conquered it. The Manchu warriors from the northern forests conquered it. Foreign dynasties took the throne, took the capital, took everything. And every single time, something impossible happened. The conquerors didn't destroy China. China absorbed them. This is the story of the only civilization on Earth that has been invaded, occupied, and ruled by outsiders again and again, and came out the other side more Chinese than before. To understand how China pulled this off, you have to understand something most people get backwards. China was never really just a country. It was an idea. More than 3,000 years ago, Chinese philosophers created a concept that no other civilization had: the mandate of heaven. The idea was simple, and it was brutal. Heaven itself chooses who gets to rule China. If an emperor is just, heaven backs him. If he's corrupt and cruel, heaven withdraws its support, and he falls. Here's the part that changed history forever. This mandate had nothing to do with bloodline. It had nothing to do with ethnicity. It didn't matter if you were born a farmer's son in the Yellow River Valley, or a horse-riding warlord from the frozen steppe 1,000 miles away. If you could rule China according to its laws, its language, and its customs, heaven would accept you. Which meant something no invader ever saw coming. The door to becoming Chinese was never locked. You just had to walk through it. In the year 1206, the most feared man alive united the tribes of the Mongolian steppe, Genghis Khan. His armies didn't just win battles, they erased entire cities from the map. When his grandson, Kublai Khan, finally crushed the Song dynasty in 1279, the unthinkable had happened. For the first time in history, all of China was ruled by foreign horse lords who didn't speak Chinese and didn't believe in the mandate of heaven. It should have been over, but Kublai Khan did something strange. He didn't burn the palaces, he moved into them. He declared himself emperor of a new Chinese dynasty, the Yuan. He adopted a Chinese dynastic name. He used Chinese administrators to run the government. He held court using Chinese rituals passed down for 1,000 years. The most powerful conqueror on the planet had just become a Chinese emperor. Within a century, the Mongol rulers of China were overthrown. Not by foreign armies, but by the very system they had inherited. And when they left, the Ming dynasty that replaced them was, in almost every way, right back to Chinese as usual. You'd think China would have learned to fear the next invasion. Instead, in 1644, it happened again. And this time, even more completely. The Manchus, a warrior people from the forests of the northeast, smashed through the Great Wall and seized the capital. They founded the Qing Dynasty. They forced every Chinese man to shave his head and wear a Manchu braid on pain of death. For a while, it looked like this time the conquerors would remain conquerors. But watch what happened over the next 200 years. The Manchu emperors studied Confucian philosophy obsessively. They learned to write Chinese calligraphy so beautifully that scholars still study their brushwork today. They took the imperial exams seriously. They worshipped at the same temples. They ruled from the same forbidden city, using the same bureaucracy, enforcing the same laws. By the 1800s, foreign visitors to China couldn't even tell the difference between a native Chinese official and a Manchu one. The invaders hadn't just adapted. They had disappeared into the very civilization they conquered. Compare this to almost anywhere else on Earth. When Rome fell to Germanic tribes, Roman civilization didn't absorb the invaders. It shattered into 1,000 years of fragments that became entirely new nations. When the Arabs conquered Persia, they brought a new religion that replaced the old one completely. But in China, something structural made this pattern repeat every single time. It was writing. Chinese characters aren't just letters, they're a shared visual language that millions of people across wildly different regions, speaking mutually unintelligible dialects, could all read the exact same way. Add to that the world's oldest continuously run bureaucracy, a philosophy that rewarded loyalty to the system over loyalty to blood, and a 2,000-year-old belief that heaven itself judged rulers by their behavior, not their birth. And you get a civilization that functioned less like a country and more like an operating system. Anyone could run on it. But once you did, it rewrote you. But this system had one weakness nobody in Beijing saw coming. It only worked on invaders who wanted to rule China the old way. In the 1800s, a new kind of conqueror arrived, one that had no interest in becoming Chinese at all. British gunboats forced opium into Chinese ports. European powers carved up Chinese cities into foreign concessions where Chinese law didn't even apply. Japan, once a student of Chinese civilization itself, invaded with an industrial war machine built to conquer, not absorb. For the first time in 2,000 years, China faced conquerors who didn't want to sit on the dragon throne. They wanted to dismantle it. The Qing Dynasty collapsed in 1912. What followed was decades of civil war, invasion, and revolution, the closest China ever came to genuinely disappearing. And yet, walk through Beijing today and you'll find the same forbidden city the Ming and Qing emperors ruled from. You'll find over 1 billion people still reading characters that are, in their basic form, 3,000 years old. China didn't just survive Mongol conquest, Manchu conquest, foreign invasion, and revolution. It did what it has always done. It took every disruption, digested it, and kept writing its own story in its own language. The nation that was invaded more times than almost any civilization on Earth is today one of the 2 most powerful countries on the planet, still speaking a language older than the Roman Empire. So the next time someone tells you that no civilization can survive being conquered again and again, remember the empire that turned every single invader who ever sat on its throne into one of its own. If this kept you watching until the very end, subscribe, because next time we're covering the only country in Africa that never lost a single war to a European colonizer, and almost nobody teaches that story either.